Hi guys, how are you? I hope you're doing well. As you can see, I still have a little makeup around my eyes from a video I just finished recording. It's one about, well, not really about, but in support of Pride Month, so I really hope you will enjoy it. It will be out Friday, so the day I'm posting this video. Okay, it'll be out later today. Anyway, I hope you're all doing really well. I know I can't see you, but it's nice to see you. I thought this is a bit of an impromptu one, but I thought it might be fun to have, I guess, kind of a sort of little get to know me thing, but also a little Japanese lesson if you're interested. As some of you might know, I speak a few different languages. English is okay. My main other language is Russian, which I haven't really done a video in Russian properly yet, but I will do. I also speak French, German, a little bit of Welsh, and Latin, but the one I'm learning at the moment is Japanese. So I thought that if you already know Japanese, cool, that's amazing. But for those of you who don't, I thought it might be nice to give it a try. Just learning really basic stuff, because when I first looked at Japanese, I was like, whoa, that's intimidating. I think because of the different alphabets. Same with Russian. Russian has a different alphabet. It has the Cyrillic alphabet, which is not Latin. But once you get over the alphabet with Russian, it's very much the same as a lot of other European languages. It's a beautiful language, but if you can speak a European language, it makes Russian a lot simpler to learn, excluding English. Japanese, on the other hand, once you've learned the 3 or 4 technically alphabets, there is still a massive difference in the conjugation of words and also how they culturally speak too, which has been very interesting and challenging to learn as a native English speaker. But with the alphabets, if you're going to learn them, I'd probably start with hiragana, then go on to katakana. You will know romaji, which is basically the anglicized version of the words. So it's when the words are written in the Latin alphabet, our alphabet. And the last one is kanji, which uses ancient Chinese characters, and that one is crazy difficult. There are thousands of characters, so it's a commitment for anyone, including indigenous Japanese people, to learn kanji. Excuse me if I sniff a little bit, I have a cold. So what I thought we would do is talk a little bit about the conjugation in Japanese, how it differs from English and other languages, and then go on to learn a couple of sentences that might be helpful if you intend to go there, or just to, show off at a pie or whatever. Okay, so in Japanese, sentence structure is very different to English. So in English, I go to the party. There's lots of little conjunctions in there and prepositions and articles. So for example, I is a pronoun, and that is the subject of the sentence, I think. Party would be the noun, or I think I'm getting that right. And then obviously go to is the verb. So that's the basic sort of formulation of an English sentence. I go to the party. The is a definite article, so it's indicating that there is one party rather than a party, which a is the indefinite article, so it could be any party. The indicates that the listener or the person who's having a conversation already knows the party that is being discussed, and therefore doesn't need it to be contextualized with additional information. Either way, in Japanese, they have particles instead of articles and conjunctions, or conjunctives, whatever they're called. So you might have a sentence. So let's actually just use, excuse me. Let's learn a really easy Japanese sentence and take the English version and translate it into Japanese. So, I don't speak, well, I don't understand. Let's do that, it's easier. I don't understand Japanese. So in English, I, the pronoun me, don't, is a qualifier for the verb understand, and Japanese is the object. I can't remember if I got those right around. That doesn't matter. I don't understand Japanese. In Japanese, you would say that is watashi wa nihongo ga wakarimasen. Okay? Which sounds weird, but let me explain what's happening. So, watashi means me. Wa is a particle, and a particle denotes what that subject relates to. So if you watashi wa, that means what I'm saying relates to me. There are loads of different particles that are used in Japanese to denote loads of different things, like possession, or like being accomplice to something, or you feel the same. Loads of different, but wa is the most basic one, and that is written as ha in hiragana, which is annoying. But that basically means that what came before it is the subject of the sentence. So if I was going to say, you don't understand Japanese, I would say anata, which means you. Anata wa nihongo ga wakarimasen. So wa would indicate that you are the subject. So what happens after that? So watashi wa nihongo ga. Nihon is how you say Japan in Japanese. It's written as Nippon in English, but it's pronounced Nihon. A lot of the articulation in Japanese is quite succinct. So it's like a bunch of different, it's usually a consonant and a vowel combined to make one section of a word, which is pretty normal, but they're really short. So Nihon is Japan. Nihon go ga actually means kind of like language. The same thing happens in Russian. If you say that you speak Russian, you say Ruski Yazik, which means Russian language. You don't just say Russian like you would in English. In Japanese, you say Nihongo ga, which means Japanese language. English, for some reason, is Eigo ga. That's the English language in Japanese. So far we've got to Watashi wa Nihongo ga wakarimasen. Okay? Wakarimasu is the verb to understand. Wakarimasen, with sen on the end, basically turns that into a negative. Because the way Japanese sentence structure work is that it's actually flipped on its head. You won't actually know what the meaning of the sentence is until the very last moment, if you see what I mean. For example, sen is the suffix that you put generally on a word to indicate that you either don't have it or that it doesn't happen. So wakarimasu on its own means understand. Wakarimasen means I don't understand. Now, if I was going to ask you if you could speak or you could understand Japanese, I would do something a little bit different. So what I would do is I would say anata wa, which means you are the subject of the sentence. Nihongo ga, the Japanese language. Wakarimasu, understand. Ka. And when you say ka at the end of anything, it turns it, the whole sentence, into a question. So where we would use a question mark, the Japanese instead have the particle. Sorry, my windows sounds like it's weeing, but it's just because it's been raining really heavily and the drain is leaking a little bit. I kind of thought, is someone peeing on my window? But no, I'm 2 stories up, so I would be worried if they were. Anyway, sorry. Ka is a particle that you put on the end of a word to make it into a sentence. So every time you hear the word ka at the end of a sentence, it means it's a question. Whereas in English, you might say do you at the beginning of a sentence to give the listener an indication that there is going to be a question. In Japanese, you don't. You do it at the end. So if I say watashi wa Nihongo ga wakarimasu ka, I'm actually asking if I can understand Japanese, but you won't know I'm doing that until the very end. If I say watashi wa Nihongo ga wakarimasu, That means I do understand Japanese. Watashi wa nihongo ga wakarimasen. That means I don't understand Japanese. The same thing happens with probably a particle, or well, actually it's a word that you're very familiar with, which is des. People write it as desu, because in Japanese, if a word is written with u on the end, it's generally silent, so you don't say it. The reason that is because actually it's indicative of the Japanese accent. So like Italians would go hello. In Japanese you say hello, or how are you doing? That's actually their accent, but they don't pronounce it when they speak in Japanese. Des, or desu, as we don't call it, des means essentially it is. So, I'm trying to think of an example now. Like, for example, if I was going to say something like, if you want to drink or something, I think it's like another one, nomitai desu. Des means is it, but if I wanted to ask, I would say anata wa nomitai desu ka. If I just say anata wa tomitai desu, it just means nomitai desu, sorry. It just means you're drinking. If I say anata wa nomitai desu ka, yeah, that means do you want to drink? If I say anata wa nomitai desu ne, that means you're drinking, aren't you? So like when people say sugoi desu ne, sugoi desu means it's awesome, isn't it? Sorry, it just means it's awesome. If you say ne on the end, it means it's awesome, isn't it? Anyway, des means it is. But again, that's put on the end of a sentence, whereas in English you would probably flip that and say it is cool, or kakoi. So kakoi desu means it's cool. Kakoi desu ka means is it cool. Kakoi desu ne means it's cool, isn't it? Whereas in English you say it is cool, or it is cool, is it not? Or it's cool, isn't it? Okay. I'm really rambling, so I'm sorry. This is probably the least helpful like Japanese educational video in the world, maybe, but I'm quite passionate about it, so when I get excited I talk a little bit faster. And also I'm aware that I've probably made loads of mistakes as I've been going through it, but this is my rudimentary grasp of the Japanese language as far as it goes. But one other important thing to note, actually, and I experience this because I go to Japan usually once every 3 years, and I'm bringing that to I'm going every year, hopefully, depending on finances and whatever. And when I'm there, I want to speak English in Japanese. That's my natural inclination. I did the same thing in Russia. I would say "Izvinit mnya" when I meant excuse me, and they were like, "Why are you saying we don't say that?" And in Japanese, I'll try to conjugate in a very British way to say things in a lot longer way than they need to be said, basically. But in Japanese, for example, I would ask where the toilet was, which is sumimasen, which means excuse me, very useful word in Japan. Sumimasen, toire wa doko desu ka? So if you see there, toire, toilet, wa, the subject of the sentence, doko desu ka, where is it? So, sumimasen, toire wa doko desu ka? And they would be like, soka desu, which means over there. But really you just say toire. You can say sumimasen because it's polite. You just say sumimasen toire, and they'll know what you mean. They try to keep it as simple in the terms of like the actual number of sounds used, as few as possible. So when I'm telling you that, I'll say watashi wa nihongo ga wakarimasen, you can actually just say wakarimasen, which means I don't understand, or nihongo ga wakarimasen. You don't usually bother with all the spiel beforehand about I. A lot of Japanese conversation is based on context. So like, as I was saying at the beginning of this, when we would say the party instead of a party, when you use a definite article, you rely upon someone knowing the contextual factors relating to the noun that you're referring to, or the verb, or whatever. In Japanese, a lot of the conversation is dependent upon the context of the conversation, if you see what I mean. Like me saying toire, there's not really, in a bar, there's not really going to be any circumstances where I'm asking to buy a toilet, or if I can go and sit in a toilet and write a book, or can I drink from a toilet. Or can I have my next beer in the toilet? It's probably that I want to use the bathroom, and so I would like to know where it is. And that's, I guess, the end of this awful lesson. I should have planned it rather than just being completely random, but I really hope you've enjoyed it. Let me know if you want another one like this, or if you think this has been terrible and a complete waste of your time. Just let me know. I'm happy to take feedback. And as always, thank you all so much for your support. Cuddle? Okay. Okay, see you soon.